Welcome back to ABC General Hospital Spoilers channel. Today, we will learn about the explosive confrontations and dangerous revelations coming your way this Monday, December 22nd. The streets of Port Charles are about to heat up with warnings, ultimatums, and shocking discoveries that will leave everyone questioning who they can truly trust in this tangled web of deception and intrigue. Valentin's ominous warning to Carly. In the familiar warmth of Carly's kitchen, a space that has witnessed countless family discussions and life-changing decisions over the years, Valentin Casadini stands with an expression of grave concern etched across his features. The usually composed and calculating man has come bearing a warning that could shake Carly's world to its very foundation. You may not be his intended target, but any one of them could be, Valentin states with an intensity that cuts through the room like a knife. His words hang in the air, heavy with implications about Jack Brennan and the potential danger he poses. Carly finds herself in an uncomfortable position of having to acknowledge that perhaps she's been blind to the truth that's been staring her in the face all along. The spell that Brennan cast over her was powerful, intoxicating even, causing her to dismiss the warnings that came from one of the people she trusts most in this world. When Jason Morgan, her longtime friend and confidant, tried to sound the alarm bells about Brennan's true nature, she refused to listen. She was too caught up in whatever charm offensive Jack had launched, too willing to see him as something other than the potentially dangerous operative he truly is. Now, as the fog of infatuation lifts and reality crashes down around her, Carly is experiencing a cold awakening to the harsh truth. The realization that she may have put her own daughter in harm's way is eating at her conscience. Josslyn, her precious daughter, who's already been through so much in her young life, could be in genuine danger simply because of Brennan's manipulation of Carly. The thought that Jack wouldn't even care if something happened to Joss, that he'd sacrifice her without a second thought as long as it served his ultimate agenda, fills Carly with a rage she can barely contain. But it doesn't stop there, and Valentin makes sure Carly understands the full scope of the potential threat. This isn't just about Josslyn anymore. Michael, Donna, even little Wiley could find themselves in the crosshairs. Carly's entire family tree could be at risk, and the worst part is that she may have inadvertently played right into Brennan's hands. Every conversation, every piece of information she shared, every vulnerability she revealed could now be weaponized against her and those she loves most. The partnership with Valentin to bring Brennan down is no longer just a possibility. It's become an absolute necessity if she wants to protect her family from whatever game Jack is playing. Nina's uncomfortable position at Lulu's house. The tension outside Lulu Spencer's house is thick enough to cut with a knife as Jack Brennan confronts Nina Reeves with barely concealed impatience. His tone carries an edge of expectation mixed with warning as he makes his position crystal clear. "I hope you're there to honor your part of the deal," he states, his eyes boring into Nina with an intensity that makes it clear this isn't a casual request. The deal in question involves getting Charlotte Casadini to open up about her father's whereabouts and activities, specifically any contact she might have had with Valentin since the recent drama unfolded. Brennan's confidence in his assessment of the situation is unshakable. He's absolutely certain that Valentin and Charlotte have already established some form of communication, despite all the obstacles and surveillance that should have prevented it. After all, Valentin Casadini is nothing if not resourceful when it comes to his daughter. However, Brennan also recognizes that Valentin hasn't yet made any bold move to spirit Charlotte away again, likely because Nathan Reeves has been serving as an effective deterrent. The presence of a PCPD detective makes any kidnapping attempt exponentially more complicated, even for someone with Valentin's skills and resources. Nina finds herself in an increasingly uncomfortable position, caught between her obligations to Brennan and her own moral compass. The truth is, she hasn't had any real opportunity to speak with Charlotte privately, let alone try to extract information about Valentin from the young girl. The circumstances simply haven't aligned in a way that would allow for such a delicate conversation. Charlotte has been understandably guarded, and with Nathan constantly hovering nearby, any attempt at a heart-to-heart would be immediately noticed and potentially interrupted. Still, Nina's presence outside the house at this particular moment suggests that she may indeed be there now with the intention of fulfilling her end of the bargain. Brennan, for his part, has held up his side of the arrangement. He successfully intercepted the traffic camera footage that would have provided irrefutable evidence of Willow Tate's involvement in whatever incident occurred. That footage would have sealed Willow's fate, making her guilt impossible to deny. By making it disappear, Brennan gave Nina exactly what she wanted, and now he's here to collect on that debt. The question that hangs in the air, like a dark cloud, is whether Nina will actually be able to gain Charlotte's trust and extract the information Brennan so desperately wants, or whether this entire arrangement will blow up in everyone's faces. Josslyn's shocking revelation to Jason. The conversation between Josslyn Jax and Jason Morgan takes a stunning turn that Jason clearly wasn't anticipating. When he poses his question about the mysterious Five Poppies organization and its connection to the dangerous triumvirate of Jen Sidwell, Henry Dalton, and the late Caesar Faison, Jason has certain expectations about what answer he'll receive. He's already shared his theory with Josslyn that Britt Westburn is essentially a victim in this whole scenario, being blackmailed and coerced into completing her father's final sinister project by withholding her crucial Huntington's disease medication. But Josslyn's response shatters that theory into a million pieces. Britt Westburn isn't a victim, she's in on it, she declares with absolute conviction, leaving Jason stunned and forcing him to reconsider everything he thought he understood about the situation. This isn't what he wanted to hear, and it certainly isn't what he expected from someone he's come to view as a potential ally in untangling this mess. The source of Josslyn's intelligence raises serious red flags that Jason needs to consider carefully. While it's possible that she discovered this information through her own investigative work as a WASB agent, leveraging her training and resources to uncover the truth about Britt's involvement, there's another, more troubling possibility lurking beneath the surface. What if this revelation is actually disinformation that Brennan has carefully planted in Josslyn's mind? What if Jack has been manipulating her all along, feeding her false intel designed to misdirect investigations and protect his own interests or those of his true masters? The implications of this are staggering. If Brennan has successfully gotten inside Josslyn's head, then she's not just in physical danger, she's been turned into an unwitting tool of deception. Every piece of information she receives and passes along could be tainted, leading people down the wrong paths and allowing the real culprits to operate with impunity. Jason will need to approach this information with extreme caution, verifying it through independent sources before acting on it, because the stakes are simply too high to take anything at face value anymore. Brad and Britt's expensive predicament. Meanwhile, in a subplot that provides a moment of dark comedy amidst all the tension, Brad Cooper and Britt Westburn find themselves in quite the embarrassing predicament at the upscale Café Sherry. The two former colleagues are seated at a table surrounded by the remnants of what was clearly an expensive French dining experience, complete with wine pairings and gourmet courses. The problem: neither of them actually has the means to pay for this luxurious meal, and the realization is slowly dawning on them with increasing panic. The misunderstanding that led to this situation is almost comical in its simplicity. Britt, having been away from Port Charles for a considerable period, assumed that Brad was still flush with cash from the substantial payoff that Drew Kane provided him to leave town and disappear from the scene. In her mind, Brad was someone who could easily afford to treat them both to an extravagant dinner without batting an eye. On the flip side, Brad operated under the assumption that Britt had successfully returned to General Hospital and resumed her position as a respected obstetrician-gynecologist, commanding a substantial salary that would make splitting an expensive bill a non-issue. The reality, of course, is far less glamorous than either of them imagined. Brad's money from Drew has long since been depleted through living expenses and poor financial decisions, while Britt hasn't returned to her former position of prestige at GH at all. Instead, she's been reduced to working as a clerk, a dramatic fall from grace that comes with a correspondingly dramatic reduction in income. Neither of them is in a position to cover this bill, and the realization is mortifying. Ever the problem solver, even when faced with social humiliation, Brad's mind races to find a solution. There has to be someone they can call to pay for the meal. He insists, his tone mixing desperation with determination. It's a valid point, but also raises the question of who exactly they think they can call in this situation. Are they going to phone some kind of bill-buster service? Perhaps they'll have to swallow their pride and reach out to someone from their past, cap in hand, admitting their predicament and begging for financial rescue. Whatever they decide, it's going to be an uncomfortable conversation, and one that will likely come back to haunt them later. Lulu's bold confrontation. Back inside Lulu Spencer's house, the situation has escalated to a direct confrontation that crackles with tension and defiance. Jack Brennan, clearly frustrated that Nina hasn't been able to deliver on her promise to extract information from Charlotte, has apparently decided to take a more aggressive approach. His presence inside Lulu's home is an intimidation tactic, an assertion of power and authority that he believes gives him carte blanche to operate however he sees fit. But Lulu Spencer isn't one to be intimidated, especially not in her own home, with Nathan Reeves standing solidly by her side, providing both moral support and legitimate law enforcement backup. She faces down Brennan with the kind of fierce determination that runs in the Spencer family bloodline. "This is my home, and you have no jurisdiction here," she declares, her voice ringing with authority and righteous anger. It's a powerful statement that cuts right to the heart of the matter. Brennan may think he's above the rules, but he's not above the law. And he certainly doesn't have the right to invade people's homes and make demands. There's a possibility, of course, that this entire confrontation is actually serving a dual purpose. Perhaps while Brennan keeps Lulu and Nathan occupied and distracted, Nina is using the opportunity to slip upstairs and have that crucial conversation with Charlotte. If that's the case, then Jack is essentially serving as a calculated distraction, drawing all the attention to himself while the real operation unfolds elsewhere in the house. It's a risky strategy, but one that might actually pay off if Nina can successfully gain Charlotte's confidence and get her to reveal information about Valentin. However, the logistics of such a plan are complicated by Charlotte's bedroom being located upstairs, making any clandestine conversation difficult to conduct without someone noticing. Nathan, as a trained PCPD detective, isn't the type to let his guard down easily, and he's been specifically assigned to protect Charlotte and monitor the situation. Brennan seems to believe that his WSB credentials somehow trump Nathan's authority as a detective. And he's even gone so far as to tell Lulu that she shouldn't trust Nathan simply because he's related to Caesar Faison, playing on old prejudices and fears to sow discord. But here's where Brennan may have overplayed his hand. If he truly is just an underling in the WASB hierarchy and not the top-level operative he pretends to be, then there should be people above him in the chain of command who could be contacted and brought into this situation. Lulu and Nathan could potentially go over Brennan's head, appealing to his superiors and exposing whatever unauthorized activities he's been conducting. The question is whether they know enough about the WSB's internal structure to make that happen, and whether they can do it before Brennan causes even more damage to everyone involved. Next, we will learn about the shocking romantic developments that could completely shake up Port Charles as Nathan West and Lulu Spencer find themselves drawn together in ways nobody saw coming. The unexpected connection. The halls of General Hospital have been buzzing with whispers and speculation as to beloved characters find themselves in increasingly intimate situations. Nathan West and Lulu Spencer, to people whose lives have been touched by tragedy and loss, have been spending considerable time together over the past several weeks. What started as casual encounters and friendly conversations has evolved into something that has both characters and viewers questioning where this relationship might be headed. Their interactions have become more frequent, their conversations more personal, and the way they look at each other has not gone unnoticed by eagle-eyed fans who can spot chemistry from a mile away. During recent episodes, viewers have witnessed tender moments between Nathan and Lulu that seem to transcend ordinary friendship. Whether they're grabbing coffee at Kelly's diner, discussing their complicated pasts, or simply finding comfort in each other's company during difficult times, there's an undeniable energy that surrounds them. The subtle touches, the lingering glances, and the way they seem to understand each other's pain without words have all contributed to mounting speculation about a potential romance brewing between these two characters. The complicated reality. However, the situation is far more complex than a simple budding romance between two single individuals. Nathan West remains legally bound in marriage to Maxie Jones, who currently lies in a medically induced coma following a devastating accident that has left the entire Port Charles community reeling. This creates an incredibly complicated ethical and emotional dilemma that neither Nathan nor Lulu can simply ignore. The question looms large. What are the rules when your spouse is alive but unconscious, unable to communicate or make decisions about the future of your relationship? Nathan has been visiting Maxie's bedside regularly, holding her hand and talking to her about his days, hoping that somewhere in the depths of her unconscious mind she can hear him. Yet as the weeks turn into months with no signs of improvement, Nathan finds himself caught between his commitment to his comatose wife and the very real, very present connection he feels with Lulu. It's a moral maze that would challenge even the most ethically grounded individual, and Nathan is struggling to navigate these treacherous emotional waters. Fan reactions and theories. The General Hospital fan community has erupted with passionate discussions about this developing storyline, with viewers taking to social media platforms to share their theories, concerns, and predictions. The debate has been fierce, with some fans defending the possibility of Nathan and Lulu exploring their feelings, while others express outrage at what they perceive as a betrayal of Maxie. One particularly astute viewer raised an intriguing question that has added another layer to this already complex situation. Is the man claiming to be Nathan West actually who he says he is? In a show known for its dramatic returns from the dead, mistaken identities, and elaborate deceptions, questioning whether this is truly Nathan or perhaps someone who looks like him but harbors different intentions is not as far-fetched as it might seem. Another fan brought up an equally fascinating point about Maxie's own romantic history and future choices. Should Maxie wake from her coma to discover that Nathan has moved on with her best friend, would she even want Nathan back? Or might she instead turn to her former love, Damian Spinelli, the quirky computer genius who has always held a special place in her heart? The possibility that Maxie might actually choose Spinelli over Nathan adds a whole new dimension to this love triangle, or perhaps love square, situation. This would mean that Nathan's guilt over developing feelings for Lulu might be misplaced if Maxie's heart has already moved in a different direction. The inevitable drama ahead. Multiple fans have painted a vivid picture of how this storyline might unfold in the most dramatically devastating way possible. The scenario goes something like this. Nathan and Lulu, unable to resist their growing attraction and seeking comfort in each other's arms during a vulnerable moment, finally give in to their feelings and begin a romantic relationship. They justify it to themselves, perhaps reasoning that life is short and they deserve happiness after everything they've been through. They keep it quiet at first, but in Port Charles, secrets never stay buried for long. Just as Nathan and Lulu are settling into their new relationship, perhaps even discussing a future together, Maxie suddenly emerges from her coma. The shock of waking up is compounded by the devastating discovery that her husband, the man she thought was dead and miraculously returned, is now romantically involved with her closest friend. The betrayal would cut deep on multiple levels, not just the loss of her marriage, but the violation of the sacred bond of friendship that she shared with Lulu. The confrontation scenes that would follow such a revelation could be some of the most emotionally charged moments in recent General Hospital history, adding more complications. But wait, there's more to this tangled web. Some fans are predicting that just as Nathan and Lulu are dealing with the fallout of Maxie's awakening, Dante Falconeri will suddenly realize that he's made a terrible mistake in letting Lulu go. Dante, who has been focusing on his career and trying to move forward with his life, might experience a moment of clarity where he understands that Lulu is the love of his life and he needs to fight for her. This would create the ultimate quadrangle of complicated emotions, with Lulu potentially torn between her developing feelings for Nathan and her history with Dante, while Nathan tries to figure out his obligations to Maxie versus his genuine connection with Lulu. The timing of these revelations, as is typical in Port Charles, would likely align in the most dramatically inconvenient way possible. Picture this: Lulu is in Nathan's arms, they've just shared a passionate moment, when Dante walks through the door ready to declare his love. Or imagine Nathan finally deciding to fully commit to Lulu, only to receive the call that Maxie has opened her eyes and is asking for him. These are the kinds of heart-wrenching scenarios that soap opera fans live for, even as they protest the unfairness of it all. Alternative scenarios and wild cards. Of course, there's always the possibility that outside forces could intervene before Nathan and Lulu cross the point of no return. Some longtime fans are holding out hope for the return of Johnny Zakara, the bad boy with a good heart who has a history with Lulu that runs deep. If Johnny were to suddenly reappear in Port Charles, it could completely derail any potential romance between Nathan and Lulu before it truly begins. Johnny has always had a magnetic pull on Lulu, and his arrival could remind her of the passion and excitement that once defined her life. The chemistry between Lulu and Johnny was always explosive, and many fans would welcome his return as a way to spare everyone the inevitable heartbreak of the Nathan-Lulu situation. Additionally, there's the question of whether other Port Charles residents might intervene. Will someone like Dante, Spinelli, or even Sam McCall notice what's happening and try to talk sense into Nathan and Lulu before they make a decision they might regret? Or will the citizens of Port Charles practice a hands-off approach, believing that matters of the heart are too personal for outside interference? The potential for intervention adds yet another layer of suspense to this already complicated situation. The moral quandary. This storyline forces viewers to confront uncomfortable questions about loyalty, love, and the nature of commitment. When does a spouse's obligation to their comatose partner end and their right to personal happiness begin? Is it ever acceptable to pursue a relationship with your best friend's husband, even if that husband was presumed dead and has returned under extraordinary circumstances? These are not easy questions, and General Hospital seems determined to explore them in all their messy, complicated glory. The show has always excelled at presenting moral dilemmas that don't have clear right or wrong answers, and this situation with Nathan, Lulu, and Maxie fits perfectly into that tradition. Some viewers will sympathize with Nathan and Lulu, understanding that human connection and comfort in times of crisis are natural needs. Others will condemn them for even considering a romance while Maxie lies helpless in a hospital bed. This division among fans is exactly what keeps people talking about the show and tuning in day after day to see how events unfold. What the future holds. As this storyline continues to develop, viewers can expect increasing tension, emotional confrontations, and possibly some shocking revelations that could change everything we think we know about these characters and their relationships. Will Nathan and Lulu take the leap and begin a full-fledged romance? Consequences be damned? Will guilt and loyalty hold them back from exploring their obvious chemistry? And when Maxie inevitably wakes up, because in soap operas, coma patients always wake up eventually, how will she react to whatever situation she finds herself in? The writers of General Hospital have set up a powder keg of emotional possibilities, and fans are on the edge of their seats waiting to see which direction the story will explode. Whether you're Team Nathan and Lulu, Team Nathan and Maxie, or holding out hope for other romantic configurations, one thing is certain: the coming weeks and months promise to deliver the kind of dramatic, heart-wrenching storytelling that has made General Hospital a beloved institution for decades. Every conversation between Nathan and Lulu will be analyzed for hidden meanings, every touch will be scrutinized for romantic intent, and every episode could bring the revelation that changes everything. So make sure you're tuning in daily, because in Port Charles, you never know when the next shocking twist will occur. And missing even a single episode could mean missing the moment that everything changes forever.